Something we offer in this report that is not from the 2022 Census of Agriculture. It is from the 2019 Census of Horticultural Specialties, but we thought it was important context, is greenhouse coverings. And since this is the first report about USDA data that we've done, like in whole, we really wanted to include this, even though it's a little bit confusing because technically it comes from the 2019 report. But I think that most people reading this don't actually care that much. I care. So there's operations and area and then different types of coverings. And this was really interesting to me. And I think for a lot of people that are a little bit in the high-tech greenhouse world to kind of remember what a significant percentage of things are relatively low tech. So just as a kind of like a baseline level context setting going into these other kind of conversations, how many of those operations are either rigid plastic or glass or plastic film? So when we're talking about like how advanced these are, and we went around in circles trying to say like, oh, how much do we think is food? How much do we think is floriculture? Because this is, again, both food and floriculture combined, just operations under protection. And we kind of came to the conclusion that you really can't say how much of this is food versus floriculture. And to say that most high-tech greenhouses are food is very, very disingenuous and is really missing out on a lot of very high-tech operations on the floriculture side, as well as vice versa. So I think it's kind of good to think of this as also representative overall of your specific industry until we have more granular information, which we don't. So here we're kind of calling rigid plastic and glass like potentially high-tech greenhouses because they could be. You could also have high-tech plastic film, but we think it kind of, evens out. And then this one has the area. So again, it's about 75% plastic film. So that means about 75% lower tech, which is more than I think a lot of people think about. So that's just kind of important context setting as you do think about the other kind of sections in there. So just because there's however much square feet of tomato greenhouse in California, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's all super high tech, right? Mm-hmm. Or there's this many operations in New York. I don't know how many of those are high tech either. I think you have a lot of kind of smaller farms that have some greenhouse area. And the farm might be making enough sales to be put on this USDA list, but maybe only a small amount of that is actually in their greenhouses. And they have these like plastic film greenhouses that are used to just kind of extend the growing season. So you do have that like real mix of people in this data set, but it is a very representative data set of the United States as a whole.